Hi, I'm Rodrigo Monteiro, Global Black Belt Solution Engineer at Microsoft. Welcome to our series on Azure Arc Enabled SQL Server, which I'm working on together with my colleagues and myself. In this session, Azure Arc Enabled SQL Server dashboards, I will show you how these dashboards help you manage and monitor your SQL Server state across hybrid environments. We will walk through all four dashboards: SQL Server instances, migration, health, and inventory. And I will demonstrate how to access and use them directly in the Azure portal. Now, let's start with the SQL Server instance dashboard. First, navigate to your Azure portal. If Azure Arc appears in your recent resources, you can just click right away. If not, just use the search bar at the top and type Arc. There you go. Once you are in the Azure Arc portal, look at the navigation menu and select Data Services because we are focusing on SQL Server. From there, click on SQL Server Instances to open the dashboard. SQL Server Instance Dashboard provide a centralized inventory of all Arc-enabled SQL Server instances across your hybrid landscape. Let's take a look on the dashboard. On top, you will be having an option to add new SQL Server instances to Arc that you can do in a connected state. We're going to see that information later on the grid, or register as a disconnected option. After that, you have the capability of managing the view. So you can add or remove columns that are showing on the grid. You can also export this data to a CSV file. You can use Open Query to be able to better search the rest of the metadata that is not being shown on the dashboard using what we call QQL query. You can assign tags, like once you selected one or multiple, you can go and assign tags to better qualify and classify your environments. If you have a purchasing ESU for the SQL Server on a invoice mode where you buy license for 1 and 3 years, you can just link that invoice and the studio will be available for a download. You can add and remove filters from the view that can be applied to all your subscription based on a resource group, based on a location, based on a service type, and also you can add new filters that exist based on the metadata. Let's now talk about some of those columns that may not be familiar to you. Resource group. Resource group is an Azure logical container that groups related resources for easier management, access control, RBAC, policy assignments, tagging, as we saw it previously, and lifecycle operation. It does not determine the physical location of your SQL Server. It is purely an Azure control plane organizational construct. Location works together with the resource group. So every time that you have a resource being created on Azure, it needs to be put in a specific location. And this is going to be the location where the metadata will be residing. Again, no data from your SQL Server is going to be moving to the cloud. This is purely metadata for the Azure control plane. Everything else stays either on premises or in your choosing environment. Mode, as we saw it when we added, you do have a connected mode, active reporting to Azure, or disconnected, that is like offline, and all any updates needs to be done manually. The version of the SQL Server instance running on this specific instance. Remember, you can have multiple instances on the same server. So you might see, an option to have different versions or multiple instances inside residing on the same server. Subscription is the location where you are adding uh, the metadata. So you can segregate your SQL Server metadata in different subscriptions if you want to. So to give you more granularity on the access control and policy assignments and tagging, etc. This can work together with the location and the resource group. And this is the type of this resource in Azure. In this case, we're talking about a SQL Server on Arc, so it's going to be a SQL Server instance. And the SQL Server instance type, that could be a standalone, it could be a failover cluster, that is going to tell you what it is. Last but not least, ESU expiration. This is going to tell you when your ESU, if you purchase for that server, it's going to be expiring. Now, let's take a look at the migration dashboard. The migration dashboard helps you assess readiness for migrating SQL Server workloads to Azure by providing a clear view of your SQL state and migration options. The dashboard is divided into two sections. At the top, you will see summary tiles. The SQL Server instances shows the total number of Arc-enabled SQL Server instances detected. SQL Server databases display the total number of databases across those instances. Version, a donut chart showing the distribution of SQL Server versions, such as 2017 or 2012. In addition, another donut chart showing the editions like Enterprise and Standard. These charts give you a quick snapshot of your environment composition. Below, you will find the SQL Server Migration Assessment area, which is the heart of this dashboard. You will see Assessed SQL Server Instances. Shows how many instances have been assessed for migration. For example, 1 out of 4 means one instance has been evaluated. Azure SQL Database Readiness indicates if your databases are ready to move to Azure SQL Database. Pass. Azure SQL MI Readiness shows the readiness for Azure SQL Managed Instance, which is ideal for near 100% compatibility with on-premises SQL. And SQL Server on Azure VM Readiness. Readiness for migration to Azure Virtual Machine running SQL Server IS. Each readiness tile uses color coding. Green means ready, yellow means ready with conditions, some remediation needed. Red means not ready, and gray means unknown or not assessed. You can click on any of these tiles or charts to drill down into more details. For example, click on Azure SQL MI Readiness. Opens a detailed view showing which instances are ready, what blockers exist, and recommendation actions. Similarly, drill into versions or edition charts let you filter by specific versions or edition. This drill down feature is key for planning migrations because it gives you actionable insights at the instance level. The migration dashboard doesn't just summarize readiness, it helps you prioritize migration path, identify blockers, and plan remediation step by step for a smooth transition to Azure. Plus, the recommendation goes beyond of just a simply recommend if it is possible or not to migrate to an Azure SQL service, but also provide you the cost that you would incur once you migrated to the specific instance or service. Now, let us explore the health dashboard. Uh, the purpose of this dashboard is to provide a quick visual way to check the health and compliance of your SQL Server extensions and the matching hosting SQL Server. This dashboard ensures everything is properly configured and connected to Azure Arc. At the top, you will see summary tiles and charts that represents the overall health of your environment. The first one is machine hosting SQL Server. That one shows the number of machines Arc enabled where SQL Server is installed. The next one is SQL Server extensions. That one displays the count of SQL Server extensions deployed. Ideally, this matches the number of machines. The next one is the overall health SQL Server extensions. Indicates how many extensions are reporting as healthy. Below, you will find multiple pie charts and tiles that breaks down health checks. The first one, SQL Server extension DPS upload status, where OK means data uploaded is healthy. Any other status needs investigation. The next is the SQL Server extension status update time. Should refresh approximately every 5 minutes. SQL Server extension provision state normally succeeded. SQL Server extension versions should be recent, ideally within 1 year. For guidance, see aka.ms/arcsql releases notes. Next, SQL Server extension general health reports the status from the extension itself. Next, machine provision state should be succeeded. After that, machine connectivity status should be connected to Azure Arc. Next, machine extension services status and machine guest configuration services status. Both should be running.
And at the bottom of all the reports, you will see an unhealthy SQL Server extension grid. Here, you have more details on all the extensions that are unhealthy, from recommendations up to failure reasons.
Now, let's explore the inventory dashboard, which provides a complete view of your SQL Server state enabled by Azure Arc. Give you insights into your entire SQL Server environment, including instance counts, database counts, versions, editions, compatibility level, encryption status, and license type, all in one place. At the top, you will see SQL Server instances, the total number of Azure Arc SQL Server instances, the SQL Server databases, the total number of databases across the instances, DB details per SQL Server instance, a table showing instance name, database count, offline status, size in megabytes. This gives you a quick snapshot of your environment scale and health.
Scrolling down, the charts break down key aspects. SQL Server version distribution, how many instances per version. SQL Server edition distribution, enterprise, standard, and etc. Compatibility level, database compatibility level, 150, 140. Feature status donuts, Defender for SQL, how many instances have Microsoft Defender for SQL enabled and not enabled. Encrypted databases encrypted or not encrypted. SQL Server edition types summarization. Extended license type, paid or free. Inventory dashboard give you a single pane of glass for auditing, governance, and capacity planning with quick filters and drill down to actual details. That was a quick tour of Azure Arc-enabled SQL Server dashboards, the SQL Server instances, migration, health, and inventory. Together, they deliver visibility, modernization readiness, and operational health, all in the Azure core. Please enable Azure Arc for SQL and start using these dashboards today. Thank you.